For this week's Movement Monday, we're taking a look at not moving, or specifically sitting still. Is it really as bad as a lot of the experts are jumping on? Like sitting is just as bad as smoking or eating tons of junk food, and the solution supposedly is getting these standing desks and so on. Now, I have a standing desk myself, but I really don't believe that sitting is the real issue. In my book, Smart Bodyweight Training, I talk about the cast of sitting. How sitting in a chair for long periods of time essentially does the same thing to our bodies as like when you have a cast on your arm for extended periods of time. And you take the cast off after several months and the muscles are atrophied, the joints are stiff, weak, maybe even more prone to injury. Any sort of scenario that keeps us relatively immobile for extended periods of time is going to have a similar effect. And sitting is no exception. But we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater and missing the bigger picture here, because we keep saying that sitting still is the problem. But it's not sitting that's the problem, it's still. The stillness is really what's doing us in. So what this means is that fancy stand-up desk, of which I have, can be just as detrimental. Even if you're not sitting, you're still, well, still. And this is why I'm not a big believer in this idea that the best way to solve our problem with sitting too much is to not sit as much, because whatever we replace sitting still with, as long as we're relatively immobile and not going through a bigger range of motion periodically throughout the day, we're still gonna suffer similar problems. And this even goes for like these walking treadmills. Sure, yeah, being at least moderately active is going to be good, but as a cyclist, I'm a firm believer that one of the biggest reasons why we suffer a lot of imbalances and stiffness is actually cardio. Because you do many cardio activities like cycling and you're just going through a tiny, short, little range of motion very repetitively. Instead, the solution is to bring your joints and muscles through big ranges of movement on a daily basis. This goes with the video I made last week about 3 or 4 exercises that I recommend practicing every single day to keep your joints mobile, to keep your muscles awake, and to avoid a lot of imbalances and stiffnesses. And this is something that is going to go a longer way than just avoiding sitting or having standing desks, because it's the lack of movement and mobility that's doing us in, not necessarily whatever position we may find ourselves in during that lack of movement and mobility. So there are my thoughts. Love to hear yours down below. You can learn more in this video here and subscribe to the RDP channel there. Be fit, live free.